One thing for sure, two things for certain. If that nigga don't give a fuck about your feelings, don't give a fuck about his mama on her deathbed. What is you talking about? Don't give a fuck about his sister getting raped to death yesterday. On my soul. Don't give a fuck about his grandma getting beat up to death. Don't give a fuck about them bald-head ass kids.
December 7th, 2024, 12:28 a.m. A call comes into Cincinnati police. A body has been found lying face down on a remote stretch of Trail Ridge Road in the empty Erie Forest. The victim is 20-year-old Lanyah Dawson. She had been shot multiple times. There were no eyewitnesses, no vehicle in sight, no weapon recovered. Only 8 shell casings scattered on the cold pavement and silence. The scene is isolated, dark, forest line, no surveillance cameras, no tire marks, no signs of a struggle. Lanyah's phone is missing. Her purse is gone. Her life ended just 10 days before her 21st birthday. What brought her to that location? Was she lured there? Was she meeting someone? Or was she forced out of a vehicle and executed in a calculated hit? Investigators face a void. No known suspects. No clear motive. No immediate leads. Only a lifeless body, 8 spent rounds, and questions that refuse to answer themselves. Was Lanyah Dawson a target? Was this personal, professional, or random? How did someone manage to kill her without making noise, without being seen, and vanish without a trace? And why that specific location? This is a story of a young woman whose life was taken in the shadows of one of Cincinnati's largest parks. A case that, months later, remains unsolved. No arrests, no justice, just fragments. And as time passes, so does the urgency to remember, before silence buries the truth for good. Stay with us as we unravel this shocking story and uncover the heartbreaking details of what led to this senseless loss. If you enjoy real crime stories that uncover the truth, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share real cases, spread awareness, and give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's begin. Lanyah Dawson was 20 years old at the time of her death. She was a local resident of Cincinnati, Ohio, and was known to those around her as a quiet, focused, and disciplined individual. According to public and unofficial accounts, she was a former student, possibly taking time off from her studies or preparing to resume them. Several sources indicated that she may have been working part-time while considering her future academic plans. Family members describe her as responsible, goal-oriented, and not involved in risky or criminal behavior. Law enforcement confirmed that Lanyah had no known criminal history. There were no reports of drug use, gang affiliations, or any involvement in illegal activity. She wasn't known to police before her death, and her name did not appear in any open investigations prior to December 2024. Her social media presence was minimal. Most of her online profiles were locked down with strict privacy settings, and she didn't have a large or vocal digital footprint. Investigators reviewed her accounts, but did not publicly disclose anything suspicious or controversial that might suggest a motive or threat. Her online activity did not attract negative attention, and she had no public disputes, threats, or harassment cases linked to her name. Lanyah's circle of friends appeared small and tightly knit. Investigators reportedly reached out to her family, friends, and any potential romantic partners during the initial stages of the inquiry. However, no one could recall major behavioral changes in the days or weeks leading up to her death. There were no reported incidents of domestic disputes, strange behavior, or fears for her safety. At the time of her death, she was believed to be employed, possibly in a retail or service-based job, and might have been planning to return to school. These aspects of her life position her as a low-risk individual with no clear reason to become a target. What do we actually know about her daily routine and social habits? Did anyone close to her notice sudden changes before the night of the incident? On December 7th, 2024, at approximately 12:28 a.m., Cincinnati police responded to a 911 call reporting a body found on Trail Ridge Road, a remote, unlit stretch running through empty airy forest. The area is densely wooded and sparsely trafficked, especially at night. It's a place known more for isolation than activity. For someone to be there at that hour, alone, is unusual. First responders arrive at the scene and discover the body of a young woman, lying face down near the roadside. She had sustained multiple gunshot wounds. There were no immediate signs of a struggle, vehicle tracks, or indications that anyone else had been present at the time of her death. No car was located nearby, and her body appeared to have been either dumped or executed on the spot. The woman was later identified as Lanyah Dawson. She had no form of identification on her. Her phone, and any personal belongings she might have carried were also missing. This suggested that either robbery was involved, or the killer had intentionally removed these items to prevent digital tracing or identification. Police recovered 8 shell casings at the scene. They were found within a tight radius, indicating that the shots were fired from a relatively close distance and likely from a single firearm. Early ballistics reports suggested a 9mm handgun was used. No weapon was recovered in the surrounding area. Importantly, no surveillance footage from nearby streets or forest entrances captured the events. Trail Ridge Road lacked city surveillance, and no residential cameras were positioned close enough to assist in the timeline. Officers canvassed the nearby area but found no witnesses. Residents in surrounding neighborhoods reported hearing nothing unusual. The lack of a vehicle raised further questions. How did Lanyah arrive at this remote location? Was she dropped off voluntarily or against her will? Did she walk there? Or was she taken there, executed, and left behind? Crime scene technicians conducted a full sweep of the area. They used forensic lights to search for footprints, blood splatter patterns, fibers, and biological evidence, but publicly released findings were minimal. No DNA or fingerprints matching anyone in law enforcement databases were recovered. The case was immediately classified as a homicide. As part of protocol, law enforcement reviewed all missing person reports filed within a 72-hour window. Lanyah had not been reported missing by family or friends at the time her body was found. This suggests she may have left home under circumstances that didn't immediately raise alarm. Was Lanyah killed at the scene or transported there after the fact? Why was she without any of her belongings? Was it robbery or evidence removal? How did she end up on a dark, remote road at that hour? This segment of the case points to either a premeditated killing or an extremely well-concealed crime of opportunity. The use of multiple bullets, absence of a struggle, and removal of belongings suggest the killer may have had some degree of planning. Police have not revealed whether any tire impressions or digital pings were identified in the area. Without phone data, security footage, or a cooperating witness, the timeline of Lanyah's final hours remains murky. The fact that she was found in such a remote, forested location implies one of two things. Either she agreed to meet someone there, or she was forcibly taken. There is no current public evidence that robbery was the sole motive. No one has come forward to claim they were with her. No vehicle has been linked to the scene, and no suspect description has been issued. The location, method, and absence of forensic evidence point to a clean, deliberate execution, or a crime by someone with knowledge of how to avoid detection. It's possible that the killer knew Lanyah personally or used deception to lure her there. Without public access to her final communications or digital traces, the truth remains buried. Detectives from the Cincinnati Police Homicide Unit immediately launched a preliminary investigation at the scene. They began with the standard procedure, isolating the area, preserving evidence, and identifying potential witnesses. However, Trail Ridge Road, located deep within empty airy forest, is secluded with no nearby homes or businesses, which significantly limited the scope of witness engagement. Still, officers canvassed surrounding areas, speaking to any individuals who live within a half-mile radius or who may have traveled to the park that night. No residents reported seeing or hearing anything unusual. There were no reports of gunshots, screams, or vehicles speeding away around the time of the incident. A crucial hindrance emerged almost immediately. The area had no surveillance cameras. No nearby city traffic poles, commercial properties, or private residences had any visibility of Trail Ridge Road. This meant there was no video evidence to provide a timeline, identify suspects, or capture vehicle movement. Additionally, the road is poorly lit, with no functional streetlights for long stretches, especially near the crime scene. This not only made it ideal for someone intending to commit a crime without detection, but also made evidence collection more difficult in the early hours before sunrise. The Hamilton County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy later that day. The report confirmed what officers suspected. Multiple gunshot wounds to the torso were the official cause of death. There was no evidence of sexual assault or defensive wounds, and no signs that she had been physically beaten. Her injuries were concentrated in a specific region of the body, suggesting a quick, targeted execution, not a chaotic or accidental shooting. The toxicology report, which would show whether Lanyah had alcohol, drugs, or other substances in her system, was completed but not publicly released. Police had withheld the results, possibly due to the sensitive nature of the investigation or ongoing leads they are attempting to protect. Time of death was estimated to be within 15 to 30 minutes before the body was found. This places her likely time of death between 11:55 p.m. and 12:15 a.m., leaving a short window between the murder and the 911 call. Despite multiple rounds being fired, no one nearby called in reports of gunfire. It's unclear whether the weapon used had a suppressor, whether environmental acoustics muffled the sound, or if the secluded location simply delayed any human detection. Why hasn't the autopsy's full findings, including toxicology, been made public? Was there a chance Lanyah was still alive in the minutes after the shooting? Could quicker emergency response have saved her life, or was the killing too efficient? At the scene, 8 shell casings were recovered and sent to ballistics. Lab results determined that all 8 casings came from a 9mm handgun. They were the same manufacturer and batch, indicating the use of a single weapon, not multiple shooters. However, no fingerprints were found on the casings, and there were no traceable skin cells or DNA left behind. The weapon itself was never recovered, meaning the shooter either removed it from the scene or discarded it in an undetected location. This absence of traceable DNA or fingerprints indicates a high level of planning. The shooter likely wore gloves and took care not to leave hair, skin, or fluids behind. Forensic examiners were unable to extract any foreign DNA from Lanyah's clothing or skin. This suggests no close quarters physical contact beyond the act of shooting, again pointing to a swift, distant execution rather than a struggle. One of the most significant losses in the investigation was Lanyah's cell phone. Her phone has not been recovered, and all attempts to trace its location using cellular data have failed. Investigators believe the phone was either turned off, destroyed, or placed in a radio dead zone immediately after the shooting. With no GPS data or last known pings, digital tracking efforts hit a wall. Her social media accounts, which were active before the incident, have provided minimal insights. Investigators were able to obtain warrants to access her messages in direct inboxes, but the details have not been released to the public. No known threats or unusual messages have been disclosed. Lanyah's clothing was also analyzed. It showed no tearing, bruising, or fibers indicating struggle, further supporting the theory that she was caught off guard or cooperated with the shooter in her final moments. It's unclear whether she was ordered out of a vehicle, lured to the site, or driven there under duress. Law enforcement considered whether any vehicle tire tracks or footprints could provide a lead. However, rainfall earlier that night and the gravel composition of the road made tracking unreliable. No tire impressions suitable for comparison were found. Was the killer familiar with forensic procedures and deliberately avoided leaving evidence? Could Lanyah's online accounts hold private conversations, threats, or clues that haven't yet been revealed? Why take the phone? Was it to erase a digital trail, or did it contain something incriminating? From the outset, investigators faced several roadblocks. With a crime scene stripped of clear evidence and no immediate leads, they were forced to explore multiple potential theories, all while working with almost no digital or physical trail. The first possibility considered was that Lanyah was intentionally lured to the area by someone familiar. Investigators noted that Trail Ridge Road is not a typical location someone would visit at that hour, without purpose. The remoteness of the area, the time of night, and the absence of her personal items suggests a setup. It raised the possibility that she was invited there by someone she trusted, someone who had the intent to harm her. In this theory, the killer may have known Lanyah's movements and habits. The absence of any struggle and the precision of the shooting point to premeditation. Her phone was never recovered, which may have been destroyed or taken to erase digital evidence such as text messages or GPS history. Police also considered the possibility that Lanyah had a chance encounter that escalated into violence. She could have been walking or dropped off near the area and ran into someone who meant harm. If this theory is accurate, the motive might have been robbery, an argument, or mistaken identity. However, no valuables were found on the scene, and her belongings were missing. This could align with either robbery or an effort to eliminate evidence. This theory is weaker due to the location. A random perpetrator choosing to attack someone in a dark forest road with no easy escape route is less likely. Still, it wasn't ruled out. The most severe theory considered was that this was a targeted killing, possibly related to personal or hidden matters. A hit. The number of shell casings, 8, suggests overkill, often associated with emotional intent or desire to make a statement. The clean nature of the crime scene, with no weapon, prints, or DNA, further implies the killer might have had prior experience or understanding of how to avoid leaving a trace. Police did not release information on whether Dawson had conflicts, online threats, or dispute with anyone. No suspects were identified. The possibility of someone seeking revenge remained speculative due to the lack of supporting evidence. As each theory was explored, the investigation began to stall. Law enforcement encountered the following challenges. Trail Ridge Road in MT Area Forest is an isolated location. It lacks traffic, homes, or businesses with security cameras. There were no known people nearby at the time. The darkness and lack of street lighting eliminated visibility for potential passing cars or joggers. No tips from citizens were received in the days following the discovery. Despite calls for community assistance, no anonymous tips, leads, or confessions have emerged. Law enforcement confirmed there was no substantial online activity to track in relation to the case. Attempts to retrieve digital data, such as from phone pings or social media accounts, were either blocked or untraceable due to the phone being missing or disabled. Investigators did not find blood trails, vehicle tire marks, or footprints that could lead them to a suspect or vehicle. The killer may have arrived and left on foot, or more likely, in a vehicle that parked off-road and left minimal disturbance. With no fingerprints on the shell casings and no forensic evidence on the body, the case lacked the crucial starting points typically used to track suspects. Due to lack of physical, digital, and testimonial evidence, the case was labeled cold within weeks. While technically still open, there have been no reported updates or press conferences indicating progress. Why was there no large-scale public plea for aggressive surveillance searches or community canvassing? Could this have been a hit executed by more than one person, potentially involving a getaway driver or someone who helped clean up the scene? Was the killer someone who already knew how to leave no evidence, indicating prior offenses or training? The story received brief coverage in local Cincinnati news outlets. Headlines focused on the shock of a young woman's death in a public park, but did not sustain ongoing updates. Coverage was limited to initial police press releases. No viral push or national exposure occurred. Online searches related to Lanyah Dawson peaked only briefly and dropped off in less than 72 hours. Unlike similar cases that attract national outrage or social media virality, Dawson's case did not gain national traction. No major news networks picked up the story. It didn't trend on Twitter or TikTok. There were no celebrity posts drawing attention to it. As a result, the pressure on authorities to solve the case was minimal. Despite being 20 years old, there were no major viral posts under Lanyah's name. Either her online presence was minimal or her accounts were private. This made it difficult for amateur sleuths, true crime communities, or advocacy groups to take up the case or spread awareness. Community engagement was almost non-existent. There were no candlelight vigils, marches, or local rallies. The case did not mobilize community organizations, nor did it spark public demand for police transparency or justice. The absence of public visibility contributed to the stagnation of the case. Would wider public pressure, online or in person, have forced more investigative resources onto this case? Was Lanyah's story overlooked because of her location, socioeconomic background, or race. Did her killer understand the social dynamics enough to calculate that the case would not draw national attention? In the absence of suspects and clear motive, the public, online communities, and some independent investigators have turned to plausible theories based on the limited facts and common criminal patterns. 4 theories have gained traction in true crime circles. This theory suggests that Lanyah may have been involved in a toxic or hidden relationship, and her murder may have stemmed from emotional escalation. Jealousy, betrayal, or unwanted attention could have led to violence. The specific location, an isolated forest road, may indicate she was lured there under false pretenses by someone she trusted. No confirmed romantic partner has been mentioned publicly, and there are no social media hints suggesting she was in a public relationship, which leaves this theory open-ended. Was Lanyah seeing someone in secret? Did she confide in anyone about feeling threatened before her death? Another theory is that Lanyah may have been the victim of mistaken identity or targeted due to an indirect connection to gang or street violence. Trail Ridge Road's remoteness provides a kind of location that criminal elements sometimes use for retaliatory acts. In this version of events, someone may have either confused her for someone else or used her as a message to another party. Are there any gang-related crimes reported in the area with a similar MO? Did she have any friends or family members involved in danger circles? This theory suggests that Lanyah may have been targeted as part of a broader human trafficking or abduction attempt, and the execution was a way to silence her. A botched transaction or escape attempt could have led to a lethal decision. Her missing phone and purse, along with no vehicle present, support the idea that she may have been transported against her will. Was she targeted for recruitment or exploitation? Were there any reports of suspicious individuals attempting to lure women in the area around that time? The most ominous theory is that Lanyah knew something and was deliberately silenced. In this scenario, she may have witnessed a crime, had evidence against someone, or been aware of incriminating activity. Her silence would benefit someone who had something to lose if she talked. The precision of the killing, the number of shots, and the effort to remove belongings support the theory of a calculated silencing. Was she involved in or witness to anything criminal prior to her death? Had she recently confided in someone about something sensitive? In addition to these theories, broader investigative concerns persist. Are there other unsolved murders nearby with similar patterns? Is Cincinnati seeing an uptick in forest road killings? Could this be the work of a serial offender targeting women in isolated locations? No official statements have linked Lanyah's case to others, but lack of transparency keeps these possibilities alive. Lanyah Dawson's family has maintained a private grieving process, opting not to speak publicly in major media outlets. There have been no organized campaigns, no memorial billboards, and no GoFundMe page circulated for legal or burial costs. This decision may be based on personal or cultural preferences, or could indicate deeper levels of grief or fear. The family's public appearances have been limited, and when they have spoken, they have expressed frustration with the pace of the investigation. Statements have emphasized their desire for justice, closure, and answers, but those appeals have received limited amplification. There is no public evidence suggesting that the family has withheld information, but their silence and absence from public advocacy have led to questions. What does the family know that they haven't shared with the press? Has law enforcement provided them with more than what's public? Is their silent protective measure or a sign of something deeper? Could fear of retaliation be affecting their willingness to engage publicly? The lack of widespread community support or organized action has created a vacuum of pressure. With no consistent media attention, the case runs the risk of being forgotten. And with each passing month, the chance of solving the crime grows colder. The case is still classified as an active homicide investigation. Law enforcement continues to encourage the public to come forward with any information. However, despite those appeals, the investigation has not yielded any substantial breakthroughs. No persons of interest have been detained, and authorities have not indicated that they are close to solving the case. Police spokespersons have described the investigation as ongoing, but have provided minimal insight into the direction it is taking. No forensic breakthroughs, no new witness reports, and no surveillance footage have been announced publicly. Lanyah's phone, purse, and any other personal effects have not been recovered, and the murder weapon has not been located. Crime Stoppers have continued to accept anonymous tips, but whether any have led to actionable leads remains undisclosed. The area around Trail Ridge Road, once marked by crime scene tape and patrol vehicles, has returned to a state of quiet. Local residents report a general sense of unease, but no recurring activity. The scene is now physically empty, but psychologically it is marked. The forested area remains known among community members as the site of an unresolved homicide. Despite the severity of the crime, Lanyah Dawson's murder has received limited media coverage. Outside of local news reports from December 2024 and minor community bulletins, there has been little sustained attention on the case. Her name has not trended nationally. There have been no widespread social media campaigns, no major news features, and no documentary specials focusing on the circumstances of her death. The story has gradually disappeared from headlines. Efforts by the police to maintain confidentiality around certain aspects of the investigation, such as forensic testing results or any digital evidence, have led to growing uncertainty among community members and the public at large. The decision to withhold this information may be strategic, but the end result is silence. Silence from the police, silence from potential witnesses, and silence from the killer. The longer the case remains unsolved, the more it shifts toward being classified as cold. A cold case is one where all available leads have been exhausted and no new information is being actively developed. While police maintain that the case remains open, the lack of visible progress raises serious questions. The answer depends on how active the investigation really is behind the scenes. If police are simply waiting on a lead that has not come, then the case may already functionally be inactive. Without new forensic evidence, a confession, or a reliable tip, there is no current path to an arrest. There are a limited number of possibilities. Witness comes forward. Someone with direct or indirect knowledge of the murder may eventually decide to talk. Fear, loyalty, or guilt could be delaying their testimony. Digital breakthrough. If her phone is found and accessed, it could contain call logs, texts, or location data that reconstruct her final hours. Ballistic match. If the shell casings are matched to a firearm used in a future or past crime, that could reveal suspect. Confession. An individual involved may confess, voluntarily or under pressure, either in custody or indirectly via third parties. DNA or forensic reanalysis. If new testing technology emerges, it may detect something previous labs missed. Until one of these possibilities materializes, the investigation is at a standstill. Lanyah Dawson's death remains defined by unanswered questions and unproven theories. What is known is limited. She was 20 years old. She was found shot multiple times on a remote road in the early hours of the morning. There were no witnesses, no surveillance footage, no phone, no weapon, only 8 shell casings and an abandoned body. This scene, isolated, dark, and deliberate, points toward premeditation. It could have been an execution. It could have been a confrontation gone wrong. But the crime itself appears to have been carried out with enough precision to leave minimal trace. No one has come forward to claim responsibility, and no one has provided definitive clues to point police in the right direction. There is no justice, no resolution, no one to face trial, and no official narrative from law enforcement that explains the timeline of her last hours. With the passing of time, public interest diminishes, media coverage quiets down, new crimes make headlines, and unsolved cases fall into background. The community returns to routine. But in the shadows of empty airy forest, the details of Lanyah's final moments remain buried, both figuratively and literally. Each day that passes without new evidence means her case risks becoming just another name in a growing list of unresolved murders. If no one speaks, if no new evidence appears, the truth remains hidden. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.